So, with a crazy week in artificial intelligence, let's actually take a look at the newest news stories that have happened this week. So, one of the craziest things here is that Elon Musk has actually spoken about Grok 3. Now, the craziest thing about this is that Grok 3, as you guys know, Elon Musk has, numerous times referred to this as the most powerful AI model. And I do wonder if that is going to be the case because since they've been making Grok 3, there has, of course, been the O1 paradigm. And he literally says that, pre-training is now complete with 10 times more compute than Grok 2. So, of course, Grok 2 is actually pretty decent, but Grok 3 is going to be 10 times more compute. So, the 10 times increase in compute is something that's rather fascinating because usually when you add more compute to the model, when you add more data and high quality data, the model gets a lot smarter. Now, the thing is that most people haven't realized is that there is actually a very interesting area where Grok could actually dominate. Most people haven't realized that ChatGPT has been dethroned quite a long time ago. If you currently look around at the AI space, the best model to use is either Claude or actually Gemini. In terms of a raw chatbot experience, I would say that ChatGPT is best because it has multiple features like being able to upload files and such. But when we actually take a look at the fact that, we look at what is going on with these models, we can see that Grok 3 could actually come into the mix and disrupt things even further. This is because they have, I think, probably the most compute at the moment, maybe not more than Google, but they certainly have a ridiculous amount of compute for a startup that has only existed for, I think, around 1 year and 18 months. They are definitely behind the ball, but they've been moving a lot faster than these other organizations. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Grok 3 has, coming out with. I think that's going to come out Q1 of 2025. And this one is highly anticipated. But as many people have said before, don't doubt Elon Musk. And I remember when I was looking at, a few tweets between the teams, they actually spoke about the fact that like all they do right now is work. And that's why they've been able to literally move as fast as they have. Like they've literally just been working 18 hours a day, like 6 days a week. So that's why they were able to catch up with the amount of time that they did. Now, if you're wondering, how crazy this is going to be, well, there was an example of someone actually using Grok to diagnose a medical injury. So you can see right here, it says, Elon Musk says Grok can diagnose medical injuries. And then this is talking about a true story of how Grok managed to diagnose someone's daughter with a broken wrist last week. Now, if you're wondering how this happens, this has been the silent revolution in AI. AI models like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and of course now Grok, they're pretty good at analyzing images and large pieces of data. And essentially what makes these models really good is they're able to summarize data, and because they've seen a lot of images in their training data, it's easy for them to identify when they know a similar image. And that's why these models are excelling at medical cases. So this person talking about, her daughter, she didn't sleep by 6 a.m. and she was convinced that her arm was broken. And she says that was in a huge amount of pain. And then they went to urgent care and they examined her and took some x-rays, okay? But the doctor who saw her and the radiologist declared her free of breaks. And after answering some of the questions, they sent her home with an ACE wrap and an ibuprofen. So they basically said, you know what, it's not that bad. But then on the way out, and this is really smart by this person, they actually asked them to please print out the x-ray images for us so I could take them to her PCP. And she was like, I hope they were right, but she wasn't sold. So her mother's intuition basically were like, you know what, let me actually just do some more digging. So her hand kept going cold and tingly and she couldn't move her thumb and it didn't look right. So she had more aches and pains. And then she was like, you know what, I'm going to start doing my own research. And she was deciding to, looking over x-rays of normal wrists and broken wrists. And she remembered a post from a few weeks ago by Elon Musk that Grok 2 could read medical images. And then she decided to, upload this x-ray to Grok. And I actually should have had the screenshot here, but the long story short was that Grok was basically stating that, look, this is a pretty obvious break. And I'm not sure how the people who looked at your arm didn't see this. And you can see that they were like, okay, let's go to the primary care physician and, get referral to the ortho. And then the next day, the wrist specialist actually took new x-rays with multiple views and they examined them and they confirmed that Grok's diagnosis of a distal radial head fracture with dorsal displacement And they actually didn't tell them about the foray into Grok because they don't want to think, she's insane, but they set the cast and that's it. So, if they didn't do this and if they, didn't decide to do extra research and had it gone untreated, she would have likely needed surgery that she can probably avoid now. So this is pretty crazy. And I do apologize for my horrible scribbles here, but this would have gone untreated at least for a while because the doctor said it was fine and I'm just a mom, right? So who the hell am I to question their diagnosis? So this is something that's pretty crazy because when we take a look at this, most people are like, I'm just a mom, like I'm not a person, I'm just a mom, I'm just, a person, I can't really like know what's going on. But this is something that's pretty crazy because doctors and radiologists, we know that these people are overworked. The healthcare system, they could have been, as she said, they were probably tired. They could have, been coming off a long night. Maybe they were looking for only an obvious clean break, or maybe they're in need of some CME, but both of them missed what Grok agreed was an obvious break. So this is pretty crazy because I think, once again, like I said before, every time I see a research paper or something along the lines of AI in the medical field, I'm not saying it's a silver bullet. But what I am saying is that so far I've seen some clear indications that this is something that is going to be an area in the future where we definitely get a lot of more exploration. And I think the future of healthcare does look like one that is relatively cheap, relatively fast, and something that is a lot better than we do have now, especially at the lower levels when these systems are going to be there. Now, this is AI news, but this is like kind of like crazy AI news because this one went super viral on Twitter. So I don't even know how to even, talk about this, but there was a Twitter post that went completely viral on Twitter, and I got tagged in this a few times. But you can see that this tweet had over 1.3 million views, 20,000 likes, 7,000 retweets. But this was because billionaire Larry Ellison says that AI-fueled surveillance systems can ensure citizens will be on their best behavior. So I might make an entire video about this, but it's pretty crazy because he's basically talking about, we were going to have supervision. He said every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. I mean, most of them pretty much are right now, but if there's a problem, AI is going to report that problem and report it to the appropriate person. Citizens will be on their best behavior, okay, because we are constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And this doesn't sound like the very best future that we could have. It's not really this isn't really what people think of when we decide to think about, the future world. We don't decide to, think about the fact that like everyone's going to have to be on their best behavior. I think this is, some references to, certain novels about certain dystopian futures. But yeah, he like, this is pretty crazy, okay? Like, I think this is something that is probably the average person's worst nightmare. Not that because the average person is a criminal, but I think people are very, concerned about their privacy. We've known about, different things that the government has done that have, constantly invaded individuals' privacy. So this is something that I think the average person isn't going to want. So it's going to be super interesting to see exactly how this, reaction. You can see that this reaction, of course, saying that citizens are going to be on their best behavior, we're going to be constantly recording everything, isn't the kind of PR that, you kind of want for yourself, but maybe it was a slip up. I don't know what's going on here, but this isn't a very good scenario. And for a billionaire to be saying this, of course, billionaires are people with immense power. This is not really a good sign because it's just pretty dystopian. And he also expects AI drones to replace police cars and high-speed chases. He says you just have a drone follow the car. It's very simple in the age of autonomous drones. He did not say if those drones would broadcast chases on, network news. So I don't really want to cover this story too much because this is like really doom and gloom. But at the end of the day, there is, a lot of information about how, the society will change due to AI. And I think sometimes we do tend to forget the negatives of AI because AI is something that is 24/7. It doesn't sleep. And of course, it's going to enable surveillance. Now, I don't think surveillance of things like security and safety are bad. I just think that when you do have certain people in power, I just think that people, humans are a bit like fallible, like in the sense of like humans are just, they're not perfect, meaning that, they can go on power trips. They can, exercise their power in the wrong ways. It's just pretty scary stuff. Now, what's crazy about all of this as well is that we've already seen how this plays out, with China's dystopian AI. They've got like some social credit system. I don't want to get into that too much, but, hopefully this dystopian AI doesn't turn out to be reality. I mean, we never know how future's going to happen. It's going to move pretty quickly, but it's something that, we have to consider. Now, AI video has gotten pretty crazy. This is something that, has gotten even crazier as time has gone on. Basically, this is Will Smith in VO2. We did see examples with this benchmark being crushed by Sora, but recently we got to see an update with VO2 because VO2 is largely the better model. And I would say that every example I've seen from VO2 not even the cherry-picked versions have just constantly continued to break the internet. This was one that was doing the rounds. And I think this just goes to show the progress that we've made in just 2 years. So, I mean, where are things going to be 2 years from now? That is going to be something that's going to be super interesting to see, considering there might be small areas for improvement, but it's pretty crazy. Whilst everybody is focusing on AI, I also am focusing on AI, and I'm using this 60-second window to shamelessly plug my AI Grid Academy. This is something that I've recently revamped. It's where over 200 people are using AI agents and prompt templates to make money. And every week we share a bunch of different resources on how people can take advantage of this AI revolution, as we know that many companies are focusing on this as their future. One of the things I have is a workshop Wednesday, which is going to start in 29 hours, which is I break down winning strategies into simple actionable steps. I have private videos where I'm showing you guys exactly how to use AI agents to make money. Then on Fridays, I actually showcase the best AI tools to automate a lot of this stuff. And of course, on Sunday, I actually break down various case studies from in the community and of course around the internet on people that are actually making serious money with AI. If that is something that interests you, don't forget to check it out. It's going to be one of the first links in the description. And now let's get back to the video. Also had a economic estimate on AGI. So Stuart Russell actually says that building AGI would be the biggest event in human history because it would mean supporting everybody on Earth with a splendid style of life, since the minimum cash value of AGI would be $15 quadrillion. Now, the reason I think this is important is because a lot of the times people say that yes, we're in an AI bubble because startups are valued at ridiculous amounts, but the startups in the AI space, I personally think that the majority of them aren't overvalued, because if there is a like 10 to 15% chance that they can manage to succeed, then the upside is so great that it's worthwhile taking that chance. Like if OpenAI can achieve AGI and they can, embed that system into various parts of the economy, they're probably going to be the most valuable company on earth next to NVIDIA. And I think the economic value that they generate from that would just be absolutely incredible. So it's something to account for when, you're looking at the AIs and these valuations.
So I'm going to leave aside the question of whether we will succeed in 2027 or 2037 or 2047 and just talk a little bit about why success would be the biggest event in human history. One obvious reason, if we think about the upside, is that if you have real general purpose AI, then you can do everything that humans have been able to do, namely produce a civilization that supports at least hundreds of millions of people in an objectively splendid style of life. We'd be able to do that at much greater scale at much lower cost, meaning that we could provide that objectively splendid style of life not to hundreds of millions, but to everybody on Earth. And if you just take average Western middle-class lifestyle, and you say, well, now everyone gets to enjoy that lifestyle, that would be about a 10-fold increase in the GDP of the world. And the net present value of that is about $15 quadrillion. So that's the cash value, minimum cash value of AGI as a technology. So then you can see why we're investing relatively large amounts of money, because in comparison, those amounts of money are minuscule.
Now, a bad news story this week was the fact that Meta is planning to flood platforms with AI-powered users. And I made a video on this and I spoke about why this is probably not the best thing to do and why it's a nuanced issue, because there's just a variety of things that you can talk about. But I'm going to read this and then I'm going to get into that stuff. But they basically talk about how, Meta's aiming to have Facebook filled with AI generated characters to drive up engagement on its platform as a part of its broader rollout of AI products. And they're basically talking about, these AI characters will be created through, Meta's AI Studio, with the idea being that you can interact with them almost like you would a real human on the website. Now, for me personally, I think this is 50-50, because when I made a video about this that I'll link in the description, I basically spoke about how, whilst yes, filling a website with AI-powered users is awful because that defeats the purpose of social media. The point of social media is to interact with other humans. So if you do that, it defeats the entire purpose of the platform, and that makes no sense. But I also said that there are so many people on social media that have little to no interaction with other humans that social media may be better for those specific users if they have someone to talk to. So once again, this goes back to that loneliness issue where will this situation actually make social media more usable by humans if those said humans that are, very human-like, they DM you, they message you, they interact with your content, and you struggle to tell whether or not it is a human or a real person? Do those social media platforms actually get more engagement? That's going to be something that's going to be interesting to test. And I do wonder, how advertisers are going to, get into that. Because, of course, if you're putting your content out there, you want it to be seen by real humans. You want real purchases. But of course, if you now have a platform filled with AI powered users, that is going to be really strange for Meta because their bread and butter is having eyeballs and allowing people to advertise on their platform. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I note that they've, canceled some of the profiles that they've had, but I think this is something that they're really gunning on. But I wouldn't be too worried about this because Meta have been wrong several times when it comes to AI, not in terms of the technology side, but in terms of the implementation side. It wasn't until recently where, they were investing billions and billions of dollars into the metaverse. So this might be another failed plan, but if it does work, it will mark a very interesting change where the AI manages to merge with the internet. Now, from more, in Meta, we actually had Yann LeCun talk about human level AI being inevitable for Meta as it develops the vision for super intelligent AI assistants that connect people to other people.
So how long is it going to take? So I think to have possibly a system that at least to most people feels like it has cerebral intelligence as humans, if all of the plans that, all of the things that we are imagining will work, okay, so those JEPA architectures and, some other ideas that we're playing with succeed, I don't see this happening in less than 5 or 6 years, okay? But now, is it going to happen in 5 or 6 years? And I think there's a distribution with a tail that's very long. And the history of AI is that people just keep underestimating how hard it is. I'm probably making the same mistake right now. When I say 5, 6 years, this is if, we don't run into a major obstacle that we didn't foresee, if all the things that we're planning to try out actually work, if things can scale, if computers, accelerate and all that stuff, there's a lot of things, a lot of planets that need to line up for this to happen. So that's the best case, right? It's not going to happen next year. Like you might have heard from some other folks.
Sam Altman, yeah, right. Yeah.
Sam Altman, Elon Musk, various people, or Dario Amodei. Yeah, it's going to happen within the next 2 years or something. No.
I know people, find his ideas honestly fascinating because, like I said, if everyone is thinking the same thing, then nobody is thinking. So if everyone thinks that we're going to get ASI in, the next 2 years, then no one is thinking. And I think it's important to have people that, share a different perspective on how the world is, because it's important to have, criticisms of any view. That's how you can have an open discourse, and that's how you can progressively move forward, allowing yourself to actually think, okay, maybe he's got a point. Maybe that architecture might be more effective than some of the other ones. And even if not, maybe it has other applications and use cases. So the next thing that we got here was something from Clone Robotics. And this was super, super interesting. So they were showing off their humanoid, which is, the torso. And I think Clone Robotics is probably one of the standout companies for me because their technique, their entry into humanoid robotics is an angle that no other company is taking, which means that this could turn out to be one of the most realistic humanoid robotics companies ever. I mean, this is definitely something out of Westworld. The water hydraulic system that they're using seems, innovative. And I mean, right now it definitely looks a little bit crazy, but I think with companies like this, as long as they can get significant funding, they could definitely be pioneering the humanoid robot race. Now, I personally think that humanoid robots is extremely hard. And honestly, I'm not even sure how you would, have this kind of system in maybe NVIDIA's Isaac Sim so that you could, train it with reinforcement learning. I'm honestly not even sure how this kind of hardware platform is going to be trained. I mean, I'm sure these geniuses will figure that out. But these torsos are using pneumatic actuation with valves that produce, noise from the air exhaust. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy because, they've got 910 muscle fibers animating its 164 degrees of freedom. It's got like 182 sensors for feedback control. But I mean, imagine what this looks like in 20 years when they figured out all the kinks. Like imagine this is something that is smooth, it's relaxed, it's able to walk around, it's able to talk to you, it's strong. I mean, definitely seems like we're living in the future. Hopefully, honestly, this isn't just a fancy demo, but they also did showcase some pictures of what it could look like in the future. I don't know about you guys, but this to me looks like some kind of alien. I would like to come home to this kind of robot cooking in my kitchen. I'm sorry, Maybe I'd want one that just has like a smiley face on it. But now, if we're going to talk humanoid robotics, it might be worthwhile mentioning NVIDIA's new Cosmos, which is something that's pretty crazy in terms of, the development of humanoid robots and overall robotics. So I would watch this because it's a development that you don't want to miss. The AI industry / robotics industry is continually accelerating at a rate that we can't even fathom.
The next frontier of AI is physical AI. Model performance is directly related to data availability, but physical world data is costly to capture, curate, and label. NVIDIA Cosmos is a world foundation model development platform to advance physical AI. It includes auto-regressive world foundation models, diffusion-based world foundation models, advanced tokenizers, and an NVIDIA CUDA, an AI-accelerated data pipeline. Cosmos models ingest text, image, or video prompts and generate virtual world states as videos. Cosmos generations prioritize the unique requirements of AV and robotics use cases, like real-world environments, lighting, and object permanence. Developers use NVIDIA Omniverse to build physics-based, geospatially accurate scenarios, then output Omniverse renders into Cosmos, which generates photoreal, physically based synthetic data. Whether diverse objects or environments, conditions like weather or time of day, or edge case scenarios. Developers use Cosmos to generate worlds for reinforcement learning AI feedback to improve policy models, or to test and validate model performance. Even across multi-sensor views, Cosmos can generate tokens in real time, bringing the power of foresight and multiverse simulation to AI models, generating every possible future to help the model select the right path. Working with the world's developer ecosystem, NVIDIA is helping advance the next wave of physical AI.
And also, you might want to pay attention to NVIDIA's road simulation, which is where they're talking about autonomous cars, because that is going to sneak up on a lot of people. We now have Waymo, we now have Zoox, and there are other companies that are doing autonomous driving. So it's worthwhile to see how that's going, because I do think that it's going to come to a city near you a lot quicker than you do think. And most people are going to be surprised and be like, wait, I knew AI was developing, but I didn't know autonomous cars were this far along. But it's something that is expanding rapidly.
And, today, instead of showing you a whole bunch of videos of cars driving on the road, I'll show you some of that too. But I want to show you how we use the car to reconstruct digital twins automatically using AI and use that capability to train future AI models. Okay, let's play it.
The autonomous vehicle revolution is here. Building autonomous vehicles, like all robots, requires 3 computers: NVIDIA DGX to train AI models, Omniverse to test drive and generate synthetic data, and Drive AGX, a supercomputer in the car. Building safe autonomous vehicles means addressing edge scenarios, but real-world data is limited, so synthetic data is essential for training. The Autonomous Vehicle Data Factory, powered by NVIDIA Omniverse, AI models, and Cosmos, generates synthetic driving scenarios that enhance training data by orders of magnitude. First, OmniMap fuses map and geospatial data to construct drivable 3D environments. Driving scenario variations can be generated from replayed drive logs or AI traffic generators. Next, a neural reconstruction engine uses autonomous vehicle sensor logs to create high-fidelity 4D simulation environments. It replays previous drives in 3D and generates scenario variations to amplify training data. Finally, Edify 3DS automatically searches through existing asset libraries, or generates new assets to create sim-ready scenes. The omniverse scenarios are used to condition Cosmos to generate massive amounts of photorealistic data, reducing the sim-to-real gap. And with text prompts, generate near infinite variations of the driving scenario. With Cosmos Nemotron Video Search, the massively scaled synthetic dataset, combined with recorded drives, can be curated to train models. NVIDIA's AI Data Factory scales hundreds of drives into billions of effective miles, setting the standard for safe and advanced autonomous driving.
Now, the most interesting thing I personally think that happened this week was that Sam Altman actually said, we are near the singularity. He says, I always wanted to write a 6-word story. Here it is, near the singularity, unclear which side. So this is something that is, like there's just so much that goes into this, because I think I made a 25 or 28-minute video speaking about this. And essentially, what he's talking about here is that like the singularity is the point at which we move forward and we don't know which side we're on. And in this, he was talking about, the fact that this could have been the, simulation theory, or the fact that we have reached a point where AI is just developing so fast that technology is in that loop where, the advanced technology makes us more advanced technology and things just start to move quicker and quicker and quicker. And of course, I think this is something that sounds crazy to people that are not in the AI space, but I've read 2 research papers in the past week, and I actually spent a lot of time reading and digesting those research papers because I wanted to not only create a video on that so I could educate the masses, but I also wanted to truly understand how the system works and, how the algorithms work. And when I truly understood the kind of technology that they were developing, from the ground up here, it was something that I could start to understand why these individuals at these companies truly believe that we are so close to artificial superintelligence. Like if you watch those videos and you understand, the math, you understand the results that they've had, you understand that when they run certain algorithms, how they just keep getting smarter, the benchmarks keep increasing, and they're not getting dumber. In the sense that like there doesn't seem to be a real slowdown, like there doesn't seem to be any bottleneck just yet. I mean, it's clear to us that we are very close to artificial superintelligence. And you have to understand that right now, the biggest thing that is slowing down this is not the fact that we don't know how to get there. It's just the fact that we don't have enough compute and we don't have enough power to actually get to, superintelligence. So that is something that I think is a key differentiator. And I think that's why a lot of people in the industry are starting to say, look, superintelligence is around the corner, AGI is around the corner. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with that regard. Now, for all of you guys who want to know the actual sizes of the models, and I know this might not seem like AI news, but to me, this is pretty big news because we actually get to see how many parameters these models have. And it's so important because we really want to know how smart the models are compared to their relative sizes. And these architectures are highly, highly secretive things. So this paper, it's a Microsoft paper. And previously, when Microsoft did say that GPT-4 was 1.8 trillion parameters and a mixture of experts, that was something that later was revealed to be true. And now they basically spoke about, these model sizes. So they said that Claude 3.5 Sonnet is a 175 billion parameter model. I'm not sure if I believe that, at least the latest iteration of the model, considering number one, just how smart that model is. And of course, just how restricted the model is, meaning that, if you have like 10 to 15 responses from Claude, I don't want to say it stops responding, but they start to restrict your account. Of course, GPT-4 was 1.76 trillion parameters. Of course, GPT-4o, 200 billion parameters. O1 Preview is apparently 300 billion parameters. And O1 Mini is apparently 200 billion parameters. So the model sizes from GPT-4 to GPT-4o, this is something that's really interesting because GPT-4o is a lot better than GPT-4 and it's 200 billion parameters. And O1 Preview is so smart and it's only 300 billion parameters. Now, they did say that, these, are rough estimates, but I think that, if you're working at Microsoft, you probably have a pretty decent guess. So, I mean, it's going to be super interesting. I mean, what happens when we get like super, super large models, mixture of experts? I mean, boy, oh boy, this, brings me to some really interesting conclusions. Now, another thing, and I was supposed to talk about this ages ago, but this is Gen X, okay? And it's like this model where you can like explore the different worlds. It's pretty crazy.
Human perceives a limited world bounded by their surroundings. Human perceives a limited world bounded by their surroundings. but their imaginations explore far beyond. How about machines? Introducing Generative World Explorer, GenX, as AI agent's imagination. Given an input image and an action, either moving forward or changing orientation, our video diffuser generates movements. With a multimodal LLM-guided navigation, we can explore our surroundings. In this imaginative exploration, agents navigate a fully generated city. Our imaginative SLAM tracked the navigation path and reconstructed a 3D mental world. This allows agents to form a detailed understanding of their environment, adapting their beliefs about the world as they explore. GenX also adapts well to unseen environments, including real-world indoor and outdoor scenarios. To ensure generation quality, we introduce navigational cycle consistency, in which GenX navigates a randomly sampled closed path, returning to the origin. In optimal cases, the start and end views are identical, providing a metric for consistency in world modeling. GenX gives a new level of intelligence to embodied AI agents. For a single agent scenario involving decision-making, picture yourself driving down a street when a siren sounds, but you can't see the source. With GenX, you project what's ahead. It reveals an ambulance just around the corner. You stop crossing the street to make space for it to pass. For a multi-agent scenario involving interaction, suppose you are waiting at a red light. You see a pedestrian and an approaching car, and everything seems fine. But GenX helps you recognize that the pedestrian can't see the car. Likewise, the car can't see the pedestrian. Your vehicle is blocking their views. Realizing this, you act immediately to warn them, preventing a collision. With GenX, machines are beginning to imagine and reason within the world, unlocking new possibilities for intelligent exploration.
Now, there was also more in terms of video creation. So Joshua Zhu talks about how they've incorporated HeyGen's model avatar to work seamlessly with Sora, and the results are truly next level. And this is probably the most advanced video talking avatar to date, outperforming real actors in many scenarios. And with this, you can precisely fine-tune movements, expressions, and actions without the hassle of repeatedly reshooting real actors. And plus, there's no limit to how long these intro videos can be. And this isn't just a digital clone, it's a fully AI-generated human avatar. So if you ever wanted to generate a video of someone saying something that is completely AI-generated, they are completely random, take a look at this.
Living rooms are more than just spaces. They're reflections of who we are, which is why they should feel both bright and cozy. Maximizing natural light, whether through sheer curtains or large windows, creates a sense of openness that can't be overstated. Adding warm tones, like soft rugs or textured throws, doesn't just enhance the aesthetic, it transforms the entire atmosphere. Lighting, especially when layered with floor lamps or table lights, plays a crucial role as it sets the mood for evenings. Incorporating plants, which not only purify the air but also add a natural vibrancy, is a simple way to bring life into the space. Ultimately, choosing decor that reflects your personality isn't just important, it's what makes a house truly feel like a home.
Now, I thought that was super realistic. It's just so weird at how realistic it is, because one of the things that I think when we look at these videos, like one of the things I always spoke about was the fact that it still looks like it's AI generated to anyone that is in the AI industry. But when we look at these examples now, I think we're starting to realize that, this is something that no longer looks completely AI generated. Like this video right here, I personally wouldn't be able to tell that this person is AI generated. Genuinely, like I wouldn't be able to tell. Even as someone that now knows this is a tool that exists, there is no dead giveaway. There is nothing about their lips, the way it's moving. There's nothing about the eyes. I mean, it's blinking, it's moving naturally. And of course, this is great for those who are trying to create content like myself. Of course, I'm probably going to be embedding this into certain workflows inside of my community. But once again, like I said before, this is something that is pretty strange in the sense that there's no dead AI giveaways. Nothing's meshing, nothing's blending together. So this is another, once again, slowly reaching that point of complete realism that we didn't even know currently existed. So once again, HeyGen are at the frontier of video model creation.